Hi, I'm Rosie. Welcome to my podcast called Yoga Pose. I'm Yoga Pose. My family used to call me Rosie Pose. I feel like the nickname made me destined to become a yoga teacher. These episodes are a chance for me to share more of myself and my journey, as well as the benefits of yoga and meditation as I see them. So expect stories, sutras, and jokes, because I think I'm pretty funny and laughing is going to help us loosen up. Yoga isn't a game, but there's no reason we can't play. So being playful stops us striving, and we become explorers simply for the pleasure of it. This Yoga Pose episode is called What's It All For? And I watched a documentary recently called Dancer, which is about Sergei Poulnin. He is I practiced that was good, wasn't it? I said it quick, but that was good. Sergei Poulnin is a Ukrainian-born ballet dancer. His achievements are vast and really started when he was accepted into the British Royal Ballet School at the tender age of 13. That was an incredible thing to happen. I've done a lot of research into ballet and it's like mind-blowing that he did that. Incredible. It really came at a price though. In order for his family to afford the school fees, his father left the Ukraine to find work in Portugal, and his grandmother went to work in Spain. So Sergei was largely brought up by his mother. His family made huge sacrifices to support his talent. And that's because they wanted him to have a better life than they had in the Ukraine. At 13, when accepted into the Royal Ballet School, he didn't speak any English, and he would practice twice as much as his peers because he wanted to be the best. Not just for himself and the love of dancing, but because he felt if he earned good money, he could reunite his family. His dad and his grandma wouldn't have to work abroad. His parents, however, announced they were divorcing when Sergei was 15, and this sent him into a very dark and challenging period of his life. By this point, he was on his way to becoming the youngest ever principal dancer, and it seemed like all the sacrifices he and his family had made were really paying off. However, Sergei's motivation to dance had been to bring his family back together. And when he learned that wasn't possible, he really did lose his way. He was now in his 20s and in the tabloids quite a lot. He became very controversial, especially given sort of how strict and conservative the ballet is. A few years into his 20s, he quit the ballet company, which is absolutely unheard of, and he went a bit rogue. He got lots of tattoos in places where he knew his body would be on show in the ballet. And of course, the scene being so conservative, all these tattoos had to be covered up with thick makeup before every performance. I'm not going to talk too much about the tattoos, but as a side note, I think you should Google Sergei Poulnin's tattoos. I'm not going to mention or describe them here, but Google them and you'll know why I'm not particularly talking about them here. And whilst you're looking at him, check out his incredible dance performance on YouTube where he dances to Take Me to Church. It's an incredibly moving portrayal of just how agonizing it was working in the dance industry. He created this dance with a friend of his and it's absolutely incredible. I did used to dance as a kid, not anywhere near his level, but I do remember it was very much about conveying emotion and story through dance, and this is just an incredible example of that. And this documentary Dancer got me thinking a lot, mainly what's it all for? Sergei worked his whole life to become a professional dancer, and when you watch this video of him dancing to Take Me to Church, you'll see just how painful the experience has been for him, how raw he is. And I think it explains some of his tattoo choices. But what is it all for? What am I working towards and to what end? Everyone makes sacrifices for their work, whether it's not drinking because they have a shift the next day, or just shift work in general, whether they are up early because they've got a long commute or they have to stay away from their family during the week. Or perhaps they spend savings to retrain. And I'm not alone in having worked on Christmas Day, spent a fortune on courses, missed social events and worked whilst on holiday. And I've had jobs where, looking back now, I regret all the sacrifices I made. I was too caught up in the demands of the job, the targets, performance reviews, to really consider what I was doing. I've lost sleep in the past over pieces of work, and unfortunately taken that stress out on those people nearest me. Some of my jobs have been so awful, they've helped me attain this very elusive work-life balance. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I work too hard, and that's because I'm really passionate. It's hard to time badge that stuff. It is a constant practice for me because I don't want to look back in a few years and again regret the sacrifices I've made. I want to inspire this rather uninspiring and uncharacteristically kind of glum podcast today because, that, and along with hearing how hard all my friends work, whether they're employed and battling long commutes, unreasonable targets, and the largely now out-of-date 9-to-5 mindset, or if they're self-employed, chasing every scrap of work going, taking on a second job sometimes to supplement their income, where they're battling with the crippling self-doubt or negotiating their way through reams and reams of unsolicited advice that everyone gives you when you're self-employed. A few things have happened to friends recently that have really, really shaken me. Health scares, deterioration of mental health, and life-changing accidents. It is super cliche, and I'm annoyed at myself that it takes these things to happen in order for me to reflect. But so is the human condition. I saw the wonderful Sandi Toksvig and her show The National Trevor recently, and she talked about grabbing life by the throat. And I'm not sure I would put it so violently, but she's right. The sentiment is right. We do have one life, and what a shame to live it smaller. And it was funny, we'd finished this event and it was amazing. I was feeling all pumped, like, yeah, I'm so glad I stayed up till, 9:30 on a Sunday night. I am doing it, Sandi. And I was on the bus home, and there were a few people who had also seen the show, and one guy, he was funny, he was complaining about the end, saying, I pay money for her to make me laugh, to tell jokes and make comments on current affairs. I don't pay her to tell me to make the most of my life. That show could have been 10 minutes shorter if it wasn't for all of that. And I didn't get involved, but each their own. But I disagree. Don't we have a duty to remind each other not just to live the length of our life, but to live the width of it too? Gone are the days where stand-up shows are just one-liner after one-liner. We're all seeking more meaningful existence. That's partly why you listen to these episodes. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we started on that path before a crisis? I'm going to give you a few questions to ponder, and they really do work best if you actually take time to answer them. So ideally you would listen to the questions and then come back to this episode at some point with a pen and paper rather than writing on a device, and come up with some answers to the following questions. Do you really enjoy your work? Like, really enjoy it? All of it? And how would you rate yourself in areas of energy, enthusiasm, and focus? And finally, what would it mean to you to increase your scores in those areas? So I do reflective writing exercises like this quite often. I find they help me become the kind of person that I want to be friends with. Thank you so much for listening to Yoga Pose. Thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. You can visit doyouromthing.co.uk to see my teaching timetable, workshops, and retreats. I would love to connect with you in person. This podcast is about building a community, so keep reaching out to me. Do Your Om Thing is my Instagram handle and Facebook page. Before you go, think about your karma, okay? You've enjoyed this episode, hopefully as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. So help a yogini out by sharing and leaving a review. I read every single comment and they inspire me so much. I'm not kidding, please leave a review. Don't make me sell out and get sponsorship and do adverts. Thank you so much for listening to Yoga Pose.